Hey, folks. Thanks for tuning in. DawgsHQ here with you. Jake Roos and Rusty Mansell. Georgia, a convincing, dominant, thorough beating of Tennessee tonight. 38-10. Rusty, to me, it didn't feel like it was even that close.
Jake Rose going to kill me because I told him all week how close this game was going to be, and I had him just about talked into being nervous. And he kept saying, "Rusty, they're gonna handle Tennessee." And like I just told you, man, I'd be honest with you. I didn't know there was that big a gap between Georgia and Tennessee still, but the offensive line, defensive line, speed. It just looked like that Georgia. It just looked like that Georgia just way ahead of them still, and it kind of surprised me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Dogs come out, take a punch in the mouth right off the bat, like they have every week it seems, and then come back and just really shut Tennessee down in a way that I don't know that we've seen them do to a lot of teams. They were very effective against Florida and Ole Miss as well, but they kind of strangled Tennessee out on this one, man.
At home, you know what I mean? It was just. I started making notes. I mean, here's my notes: tackling in space, Michael Williams, pressures, Carson Beck, dealing. Here was the new wrinkle. You know, I talked about this a lot. Last year, Georgia played man to man and came after Hendon Hooker. Well, this year they go zone and basically dare Joe Milton to beat them. And they're like, "Listen, you're going to have to throw the ball into tight windows to beat us and be consistent." And he couldn't do it. And Georgia, for lack of a better term, they were not worried about Joe Milton. They played a lot of zone, kept everything in front of them, and they just dominated this thing. You see that one play, and you're like, "Oh boy, here we go!" And it was just a run fit. I mean, exactly what it was. It was run fit. I believe Smile Monday went into the wrong gap. Happens, and kudos to them, because when you play a team like that with a light box, if you miss a tackle, that's what happens to you. But after that, I mean, Georgia, they clamped them down like it was a wrap.
For me, story of the game, looking at this one, time of possession, Tennessee 1902, Georgia 40-58.
Yeah. Again, I don't know that I'm shocked, but I'm really surprised. Like this was an ass whipping, you know what I mean? And in Knoxville, and I told everybody, I did every radio station, I did every podcast, and I said, "Look, guys, Georgia's about to have their hands full. This is going to be the toughest game of the year." And it wouldn't. And that type of performance there shows you how far ahead Georgia is than Tennessee. And it really surprised me. I'll just be a man about it. It really surprised me, the difference between these two programs.
Yeah, no question about it. Like you said, that home atmosphere. I mean, 9.5 points. This was a tight spread on this one, and Georgia just didn't play this one even close to that. Carson Beck absolutely dialed in. 24-30, 298 on the day, 3 touchdowns, averaging almost 10 yards a throw, 9.9 on the day. What can you say, man? The guy has progressively gotten better from game 1 to game 11.
It's amazing. We went from, I think they said it on TV, and we've been living that world the whole time. Like, can Carson Beck do it? Nobody kind of knew. And then he kind of struggled a bit to start, and he didn't have his pieces to the puzzle. And then you have a first half like you had against Auburn and South Carolina, and now Georgia fans are like, "Please God, come back." You know what I mean? It's one of those deals. We've kind of seen the whole gamut for him, but I can tell you this: he's confident, man. You can see him, and he is throwing in some. He hit Bowers in that little square today, and about gave Bowers a concussion because he didn't turn around quick enough and the ball got on him. And I told everybody, tell everybody, if you haven't seen Carson Beck throw in person, that arm is live. It gets out of his hand. This guy can absolutely, it's like a fastball, man, and a pitcher. And he is accurate with it right now, making all the right reads. He is a confident quarterback.
Yeah, and I think that's the big change from the beginning of the year, right? I mean, it felt like there were some nerves early on. He didn't really trust himself.
Naturally.
Yeah, of course, right? Coming in and filling Stetson Bennett's shoes. Now, game 11, clearly his team, clearly he's in control. Just an absolute dominant performance. Also, too, we should mention, I guess, in the passing game, 1 for 1 for 18 yards and a touchdown. Dylan Bell, a little bit of everything today, man. The guy came in and just absolutely took this game over. Tennessee DB is going to be dreaming about Dylan Bell for a while.
What about a great setup by Bobo there, because they ran 2 tall sweeps to Bell, or they ran 2 tall sweeps within like 9 plays. I had to go back and count, and then they come back with that tall sweep pass. And man, You don't see that in college football. There wasn't even anybody in the TV screen. You know what I mean? And what a call, what a play. And I know Dylan Bell is probably thinking, oh my God, he is wide open. Don't overthrow this thing. But just a great play design, great setup. You just don't call that play. You set that play up. And Dylan Bell was 5 catches for 90 yards. We'll talk about it more. Jake Rowe and Palmer Toms are there. Obviously, Lad McConkey played like 3 snaps. I think he just tried to go and couldn't go today. So we'll have more on that on DawgsHQ quickly tonight. So we don't want to speculate. We're not there, but he did play 3 plays and came out. But when you start looking at who kind of filled that void tonight, and it was Dylan Bell.
Yep. Yeah, no question about it, man. Just did a little bit of everything. And people forget, man, he played that way in high school. Like he played some quarterback. He played wide receiver. He played running back. The guy is dynamic as they come. No question about it. Rest of the Georgia passing attack also super dynamic. Brock Bowers, 7 receptions, 60 yards, a touchdown. He's a freak. What else can you say about him? And Marcus Rosemy-Jackson, tremendous day for him. 7 receptions, 91, 2 touchdowns on the day. Whole passing attack getting involved.
Yeah. And you look at Marcus Rosemy, and he's the kind of guy he's the guy you kind of forget about at times. He'll catch 1 or 2 balls. It seems like a game, but today, man, he stepped up. He was big, caught some balls in traffic, and it's good to see a senior and a kid that, I know that inside that locker room, he's counted on. I know he's one of the guys on the player council. So he's a guy that's looked up to, and you want those kids to be able to have some stats for them. And today, man, he stepped up. Look, I'm going down the stats right now, and everybody got touches.
Yep.
And it was Carson Beck, man, dialed in.
Absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about this rushing attack. Efficient, but not overwhelming, I think, in the way that some people maybe had expected it to be. Anything you might chalk that up to?
No, it's not just going through. I think Tennessee, after what happened to them last week in Missouri, they probably got into their D line a little bit this week, and I'm not sure when Georgia realized that, hey, they can't cover us. They just kind of we'll run enough to make you honest, but the way they pass blocked, Mims and everybody against James Pierce, a kid that had been giving everybody issues. Now I know Georgia was going to run at him because he's had issues sitting the edge, but when he could pin his ears back and come, he's one of the best edge rushers in the SEC. And I don't think he had a sack today. He had 1 pressure on a hold, but other than that, Georgia shut him down as well.
Yeah, Georgia really familiar with James Pierce, recruited him very heavily over the course of his high school career. Defensively, let's switch it up to the other side of the ball. Tyke Smith kind of caught a little bit of hell for that first play. Maybe he was out of position on that one as well, but finishes the day, 10 total tackles for him, really bounced back in a nice way. Javon Bullard, 6 total tackles on the day, a tremendous pass breakup for him. There were a couple of those, man. Kamari Lassiter had a nice pass breakup. I thought Malachi Starks was going to have that Oregon version 2.0.
Yeah, he was time to jump, man.
Yeah. What stood out to you from the defensive performance here? Was it more about what Tennessee couldn't do or what Georgia did?
We mentioned on here, or we mentioned on the Georgia show Monday night or Sunday night, one of the nights. Ole Miss, we talked to Ole Miss, some people in that building, they said they could not believe how good Georgia tackles. Well, you watch today, and Georgia, Tyke Smith, Javon Bullard, Malachi Starks, CJ Allen. I mean, if you get past the line of scrimmage, you might get some yards, but you're not getting anything extra. And they had a run fit. They gave up 75 yards. That wasn't a missed tackle. That was a bad run fit. And, you look at Georgia, man, and Tyke Smith really, 23, really made some plays. I mean, he ran through that freaking wide receiver, man. You talking about picture perfect. Kirby Smart, there's no telling what words he's going to use when he shows that tape. That is absolutely how you handle that little hitch bubble. You just run right through the blocking wide receiver, and he made the tackle. And I didn't know what Gary Danielson was going to say there, but he used the word "put you on your rear," and that was a picture perfect play by Tyke Smith.
Yeah, I thought also, too, one of the things that jumped out to me looking back over the stat line, Jordan Hall, 4 tackles on the day.
Yeah.
Coming in, Warren Brinson not able to go in this one. So that's a huge get for Georgia to be able to put him in. The freshman comes in and delivers right off the bat.
Yeah, you got to get Warren Brinson back. And listen, all the injuries. I see people asking questions, but that's something we will have on Dogs HQ tonight. Some we'll have tomorrow, and we'll speak with Kirby. I think only one time this week on Monday. So get what we can on the injuries. But Warren Brinson, when you start thinking about bigger picture and that Alabama offensive line and that running game and that quarterback, you got to have 97. So interested to see what they say about him.
Yeah, Georgia beat up a little bit right now. There's no question about it, but everybody just steps up, man. That seems to be the case we're seeing each and every week. Rusty, before we get out of here, man, a couple of game balls. Let's do one on offense, one on defense. Who stood out to you and why?
I mean, I don't know how you can't give a game ball to Carson Beck. I mean, you know what I mean? That's one of the best.
You could maybe make the argument for Dylan Bell.
Dylan Bell, yeah. But I just think the consistency of what Carson Beck did today, and I would go Tyke Smith, man. I mean, playing that star position, and you got to tackle in space, and what Georgia is going to face down the line against some of these teams, and how important he is to have 10 tackles today. Again, sometimes we don't talk enough about Malachi Starks because he don't give up anything. You know what I mean? Like this dude shuts it. Kamari Laster, he had one target. You know what I mean? Like
I said that on the board earlier this week. They were debating who's the best defensive player on this team. Yeah. I said Malachi Starks is being overlooked in this conversation because of the quality of the job that he's doing. Yeah. You just don't hear about him.
Yeah, especially in the back end. You know what I mean? Like he just makes plays, and they had a 4th and 1, and it was a run fit for him, and the hole was wide open. You're thinking this dude's about to get 5, and he barely got 1 because 24 came up and filled it. You know what I mean? So you just don't see Malachi Starks much, but man, he played. I'll tell you this, that was for me. But if you want to look at something that's very positive for Georgia, I think it's Mykel Williams. And I think Mykel Williams is starting to kind of hit his stride, and they're going to need him. They're going to need 13 in these games down the line, especially this game in 2 weeks. To see what he can do against Alabama. And the front of Georgia today, I think, played outstanding. And I liked what I saw out of that front 7 for sure.
Yeah, just a talented group, no question about it. Guys, that will wrap it up for us. Make sure you get over to DawgsHQ. We got our big game special running through this weekend, 50% off your first year. Can't beat that deal. All the insight, all the recruiting scoop, all the team news, everything and all things Georgia all the time. Or it's $1 for a month if you want to give us a test run as well. So get over, please check us out.
The one thing I'll say again, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for subscribing. I know everybody wants information on the injuries. Right now, they're meeting with the coaches, the players, and they'll have updates. So if you go to DawgsHQ tonight, you want to spend $1, whatever it is, join for tonight, because they're going to have stories. Palmer and Jake will have stories up the rest of the night, probably 4 or 5 more stories, but we will have the latest on the injuries, and we should have that shortly, and see what Kirby Smart says, see what the players say, and we'll have a good wrap up tonight from Knoxville.
Yeah, 1 full year going to take you through most of next season too. So make sure you get in, check us out over at DawgsHQ. Like I said, all the latest scoop, team and recruiting. We got you covered wall to wall. Couple big games looming for Georgia, no question about it. A little bit of action in Grant Field this weekend, or Hyundai Field, I guess, as it were now.
Downtown, I'll tell you that.
I would not assume that Georgia Tech looking forward to this one based on the last couple of weeks. Ooh. And then, obviously, a big one headed up in Atlanta again. So, guys, get over to DawgsHQ. We'll have you covered on it all. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you. And make sure you hit like and subscribe.